So Florida's Governor Ron DeSantis signed a controversial anti-riot bill into law. Anti-riot bill. Now, let me give you some more information about this bill. The new law grants civil legal immunity to people who drive through protesters blocking a road. Wow. The bill also creates a broad category for misdemeanor arrest during protests, and anyone charged under that provision will be denied bail until their first court appearance. And DeSantis admitted, hey, I want to sign this to prevent people from protesting, to prevent people from rejoining protests that are going on. So, think about this. You're at a protest. There could be one person in a group of hundreds that does something violent. Now you could be arrested and not released until your first court appearance. You could be in a protest. You could be perfectly peaceful every step of the way. And if one person out of hundreds does something violent, whatever it might be, throw a rock, anything, they can arrest you and lock you up. And it might be for days, depending on what day the protest is. They're granting immunity for people to drive through crowds. So if protesters happen to be blocking a road, which is a tactic you could agree or disagree with, by the way, I don't think it's crazy to say you're against that, of course. But if protesters do that, they're saying, hey, you get run over, you get run over. And so somebody could do it actively and basically commit murder. And they're saying, no, the law allows that. Oh my God. Listen, what does that remind you of? It reminds you of, what was her name? Heather Heyer, I think her name was, when she was run over by a white supremacist. It was a car attack. It was a terrorist attack is what it was, because it was ideologically motivated. They're basically legalizing that in Florida. What are you doing, Ron DeSantis? And listen, the most important point here is this. They are anti-free speech. This is what an actual crackdown on freedom of speech means. I know the right has pretended to care about this issue now for the past few years, but every time they bring it up, it happens to be involving some private business, which is, legally speaking, not a free speech issue. Now, I still think it's the principle of free speech, so I usually agree that people should generally be allowed to say what they want. There shouldn't be consequences. You shouldn't lose your job or anything like that, right? But here we have an issue where it is actually the First Amendment and free speech and freedom to protest. And the government is violating your First Amendment rights. And you're not going to hear a goddamn word from any of the conservative commentators about this. None of them. None of them. Nobody on Fox News, not Dave Rubin, not Steven Crowder, not Ben Shapiro, none of them. Even though if this goes to court, this will be struck down. Because this is without a doubt against the First Amendment. So, I mean, this is classic deep hypocrisy. Because the same people on the right who hyperventilate over, the left being anti-free speech, they didn't say a goddamn word when there were anti-BDS laws popping up all around this country, which said, if you say you want to boycott Israel, you can't get any government money. That's the government cracking down on your freedom of speech. There's anti-protest laws that popped up elsewhere. This is the most extreme anti-protest law I've ever seen. This is just against the First Amendment. He's banning protests. He's banning the First Amendment. If you get locked up and might not be let out for days simply for showing up to a protest, even if you're not violent, that's taking away your First Amendment rights. And again, they're not going to say anything about it. So remember that. They use this issue as a partisan bludgeon. Whereas there are people who actually care about this issue, and if you do actually care about this issue, this should be number one on your list of free speech issues that needs to be addressed. This is totally unacceptable. And this guy, I'll use their own lingo. This guy is a snowflake. He's a snowflake, and he's triggered, and so he's going to ban people he disagrees with from talking and protesting and expressing their feelings. So this is authoritarianism 101. That's what this is.